Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to Eric Deters, The Law. This is a series which we just begun. We did one yesterday on whistleblowers, and I thought it was appropriate that we follow up. Today's episode is called Medical Billing Fraud. We're going to continue to produce these every day, Monday through Friday. I think you're going to really enjoy them. We're going to catalog them. And over the course of a year, think about all the great free legal counsel you're going to get from me. These are educational and instructional. I am not a licensed attorney anymore. However, I'm allowed to share everything that I know about the law. And as you know, my consulting company works with law firms. So here we go. I'm going to put up first the sample of a bill. And this bill, we've redacted the personal identification information. This happens to be a bill from St. Elizabeth Medical Center. Now, even though they say this is not a bill, this is actually a bill that gets sent to somebody. Now, the reason why I put this up, and it's important, is because they will show you your charges, your insurance payments, your payments, what adjustments are, and what your total balance is. One of the issues that comes up in medical billing fraud is, did the insurance company and the hospital or the medical provider properly make sure that the appropriate amount was received and applied by the insurance company, by the hospital or the medical provider, and it's all done correctly? You do not have the privy between the correspondence between the insurance company and the hospital. They do that without your knowledge. You may not realize this, but you have the right to request that information if need be and you dispute a bill. You should save all your bills. Then you have the charges, the code numbers, and I want you to know that those code numbers are very, very important. The description of what was done, what's the amount. But this is something that is a treasure trove of information, obviously, detecting medical billing fraud. And I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. Now, I want to cover what is involved in medical billing fraud. First, every state in the country has what we call common law fraud. Common law fraud means fraud that's developed over the years through case law, the court system. There's not a statute or a written law. It's established by the court system. These elements of fraud apply universally in every state, including in Kentucky and Ohio. And I also point out, the most important thing that you need to know is the statute of limitations, which means how long you have to bring a fraud claim. In Kentucky, 5 years. In Ohio, weird, 4 years. Now, here it is. A material representation. What does that mean? They represent something to you that is important. What would be important? The actual charge. It is false. What they represent to you isn't true. That they knew it was false. In other words, it's not an accident. They knew it was wrong. Next, they made that representation false in order to induce you. Next, that you relied upon it. You actually relied upon it and you were injured. You paid a bill that you shouldn't have. Now, I want to pause here for a sec and explain something. What I just outlined on fraud doesn't just apply to medical billing fraud. It applies to any claim for fraud. If anybody ever makes a material false representation to you that you rely upon, made you to induce the action, and you're injured by it, you got a fraud claim. All right. Now, in addition to this and this is important, states have consumer protection laws. If you want to take a deep dive on it, the Kentucky Consumer Protection Act is Kentucky Revised Statute, or KRS 367. You can read all about it. What is the crux of it? Something is told to you that is false, something told to you that is deceptive. It doesn't necessarily have to be with intent. All right. Ohio Consumer Sales Practices Act is Chapter 1345 of the Ohio Revised Code. What do I mean when I say revised code or statutes? These are laws passed by the legislature. All right. In addition, there is a Federal Consumer Protection Act. The Federal Trade Commission gets involved in these issues. And last but not least, a while back, they created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I forgot the guy's name. They created this, I think, under Obama or Bush, one or the other. I think it was Obama. It was a former Ohio state official, was actually the very first person that was in charge of that. Now, what are your damages? Again, very important to go over. The law throws around this word compensatory. You're going to hear that in law all the time. Compensatory simply means what you actually lost. In a billing fraud case, it would be that you actually lost money by paying a bill you shouldn't have paid. In a car accident, it would be your medical bills, your lost income. That's what compensatory. You're entitled in a fraud case for punitive damages. Now, this is interesting. There's a famous United States Supreme Court case. It's Campbell Soup case. I think it's still good law. By the way, one of the things I want you to know is, remember, this is educational. There might be something that changes in a nuance on some of these issues, and that's why you hire a lawyer for it. But the Campbell Soup case established a limit to punitive damages of 10 times compensatory damages. I think it's still good law. So what that means is if you lost $10,000 of compensatory damages, you could get punitive damages if you have a fraud claim of up to $100,000. Let me tell you something else that's good about all these damages. Most of the people that do these bad things are big companies, so you can collect it. These aren't usually small mom and pops. These are big banks, big insurance companies, etc. Now, treble or triple damages. Consumer protection statutes generally allow you to have treble damages. That's what lawyers use. What's treble? Triple. So if you have $10,000, that would be $30,000. Last but not least, these consumer protection statutes and usually fraud law allows you to collect your attorney fees and court costs. So if you're paying a lawyer by the hour or you're paying him a third, they can collect those. Let me tell you the difference between attorney fees and court costs. You probably don't even know this. And as we go through these instructional videos, I'm going to share these things with you. Attorney fees are exactly that, what a lawyer's paid. Costs are what you actually spend pursuing the case. It's filing fees, it's subpoena fees, it's deposition fees, it's actually checks that are written that are actually costs. Now, something else you need to know. These type of cases sometimes can be really nice class action lawsuits. Why? Because they affect a lot of people. I'm telling you that if you uncover something about what I'm talking about, please email me. Please text me. We got the number when we close this out. And here's why. I'll put you in touch with the right lawyer. And if it's a class action, you might be able to be the hero as a class representative. Now, we have, and when I say we, Drake Law, which I'm affiliated with, my former law firm, and my company, Deters Consulting Company, have a massive billing fraud case against St. Elizabeth Medical Center involving a unique scheme. You can't make this up. The vice president of St. Elizabeth Medical Center in charge of billing referenced it to an insurance company in an email as a scheme. And of course, it is a scheme. Massive case. I'm telling you this because I know that there's a lot of issues at St. Elizabeth Medical Center. However, can come up with a lot of other hospitals, not just necessarily hospitals. I also want to point this out. Your average Jane and Joe lawyer, always remember this, big law firms represent these hospitals and these entities and these medical providers. Your average Jane and Joe small law firm is not equipped to really dig into these things, all right? From the vax battle, I have assembled with Deters Consulting, working with Drake Law, an incredible team of lawyers, billing specialists, and staff. They include St. Elizabeth's one and only, called Revenue Integrity Analyst or Billing Auditor. So if you've got one of these issues, we have an actual billing auditor that can review what you send to me. By the way, if you got a lot to send me, always send it to me by email. In addition to that, we have other people in the office, nurses, billing specialists, smart lawyers that we contract with. We have an incredible bill. There's nobody in Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, state of Kentucky, that has a better billing fraud team than we do. That all came out of the Durrani litigation, and then the COVID vax issue, and now this St. Elizabeth Medical Center issue. Here's another thing that I'm on the lookout for. Remember, I'm the champion of the people. There's my phone number, my text message, everything is free, confidential. Here's another thing I'm on the lookout for. COVID stuff. Keep this in mind. Let me know if you uncover anything like this. By the way, if you work in a place and you contact us, we'll keep you confidential. These hospitals got tons of money from the government to pay for COVID stuff. Did you pay? It's some litigation we're going to be pursuing. Did you pay for a COVID shot, vaccine shot, something COVID related, or your insurance company, and those hospitals also were paid from the government, the taxpayers, for what they billed you? In other words, were they double paid? Can you say probably? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tomorrow, we're going to do something a little different than medical billing, probably. I look at what's going on in the world, and I put something together. However, I'm chomping at the bit to cover two big topics because I know so much about them: personal injury and medical malpractice. But we have hundreds of topics we're going to cover. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Thank you for watching this series. Please share it with all your friends.